right? You have a lot of turnover, possibly. Kelsey may be finished.
Where I'm looking up average life expectancy. I'm dreaming at this point. Like, I can't. I'm done with the season.
What's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes? And it's weird to be talking about a guy like, what's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes, and he's not 30. You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us. And we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller.
What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right, brother. Where can the folks find you on Twitter, my guy?
Follow me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
I said S as in sangria. I should have said S as in surprises, Kennedy Miller, because on today's show, what we're going to be talking a whole lot about is what teams have surprised us, maybe in a good way, right? What teams have surprised us and possibly been a disappointment. So, Kennedy Miller, I'm going to start off with you. My dog, what team has been the biggest surprise this season for you?
I think it has to be the Baltimore Ravens. I know they've got some injuries, right? Matabuke, is that his name? The D tackle was out for the season.
Yeah, you said it right.
Kyle Van Noy's injured, right? He's been out. They've got some injuries on that defense, but the expectations that the Ravens had, and deservingly so, and rightfully so, right? Because they've been one of the best teams in the NFL for the last 3 or 4 years, right? They have not lived up to, right? I know they started off 0-2 last year, and I'm not saying that all hope is lost, right? They can still very much turn the corner. I mean, they have Cincinnati and Cleveland to play 2 more times each. So, I mean, you got a chance still with the division that you're in. But just the way that they've looked, right? And like I said, there have been some injuries, but their best players haven't performed well, right? Like Derrick Henry didn't really get the ball this much in the this past game against Kansas City, but he's had some really bad fumbles in big spots in these first couple of games. And Lamar Jackson, by his standards, or anybody, he did not play well against Kansas City. And this is not the first time, right? He's 1-6 against Kansas City. And this is a dude, like, I'm not going to say he's had questionable big moments, especially for somebody of his caliber, right? Like, I think he's got the best passer rating ever. Like, he's got some stat where he's like the best passer rating or best like QBR ever, right?
I think it's passer rating.
He's only had 3 games where he's turned the ball over 2 or more times. And 2 of those games were in the playoffs. And the last game was this past game against Kansas City. Like, he's a 2-time MVP. He's got all these accolades. But it's like when those moments matter, we're not seeing enough. And I don't know if it's John Harbaugh, right? Like, I don't know if I don't really understand what's going on. But this team, like I said, it's not all the way over. Like, I'm not writing them off as not making the playoffs. But so far in the past 4 games, they have been, in my opinion, the biggest disappointment.
The thing with the Ravens, at least to me, is this. It wouldn't have been a shock to me if they started off 2-2, right? Like, that would not have been a shock at all. Because this arguably is the toughest stretch of their schedule, these first 5 or 6 weeks.
Yes.
Right? So we knew looking at the schedule going in, I thought this was going to be a team that's going to play, be in the Super Bowl, but that I thought would start 2-2, right? But for me, it's not that the fact that they've lost 1 more game than I expected. It's the way that they have lost these ball games, right? Their defense is ass. Okay. Ass. ASS. And I don't mean the little cute one. I mean a big one. Meg Thee Stallion, big one. Okay. What's all the women Zion Williamson be running around with? Those kind of big BBL ass. Okay, they are horrific defensively. Kennedy Miller, for the first time in my life, I can't believe I'm saying this about the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
They are ass defensively, right? Like the Ravens and great defense go together like peanut butter and chocolate. Okay, like you cannot imagine one without the other. And the bad part is, people can say, oh, they have had injuries and all this other stuff. They gave up 41 to Buffalo the first week, right? They were bad then when everybody was fully healthy. Now that you got guys on IR, oh, this is only going to get worse, right? And they do not, like, the Ravens are typically not a team that you think about that you're going to have in a shootout, right? Typically the Ravens play ugly, nasty, gritty football, right? This is not a track meet with the Baltimore Ravens, right? But that appears to be the way they're going to have to play football games, because typically I like to say this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about a few other teams. You can work around a mediocre to bad offensive line and still make things shake, right? Like we saw Alabama 3 or 4 years ago go to a national title game and almost win a national championship with Bryce Young standing behind 5 fat guys, right? Like we saw that. We've seen Joe Burrow go to a Super Bowl and almost win it, right? Behind a horrible offensive line, right? Like most times you're not going to get a horrible defense that's going to be able to make it all the way to the Super Bowl unless they have some really great turnover luck, right? This Ravens team does not seem to have that right now. But what gives them a big saving grace is this, though, Kennedy Miller. The AFC North is not the North that it used to be, right? The Bengals have lost Joe Burrow, I assume, until like mid-December.
3 months.
And they out there with Jake Hayner and them boys. Speaking of ass, okay, them boys out there week in, week out, they're bad, right? B-A-D, bad, right? You ain't got to worry about them. Cleveland is Cleveland. Cleveland's got a really good defense, but the worst offense in the league. And Kennedy Miller, as much of a fan as I am of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin and their consistency, right? Look at who their 3 wins came against. Carson Wentz in the Vikings, the Jets, and I believe, I can't remember the third team that they beat, but they won those 3 games by a combined 12 points.
What's the third team that they beat?
Right. Like they're not good, right? By a combined 12 points. So how confident do you feel in that? You know what I'm saying? And then if you look at the rest of the Ravens schedule, right, the next couple of weeks, it's manageable in the back half. They've got Cleveland, they got the Jets, they got the Bengals, and they've got the Patriots, right? But they've got Houston and LA, the Rams, these next 2 weeks, right? You ask me personally, I think the season is on the line when Houston comes to town this Sunday, because one of you teams is going to go to 1-4. I don't know what the statistics are of teams making the playoffs starting off 1-3 or 1-4, but I know they're not good, right? That is the biggest thing with the Ravens. And they've been so disappointing in a way that I said this a few weeks ago. I think it's time might be up for John Harbaugh. I think time might be up. He's been in that job for what, 15, 16 years? That Super Bowl, Kennedy Miller, was in my 11th grade year. They've not made it back since. They've had a couple of teams since then that we thought could have made a serious run that didn't. And this team, I think, might be at least what we thought on paper going into the season would be the best of all of them. Hasn't lived up to expectations at all. So at what point do you look at your head coach? At what point do you have to make a change, right? Because, Ken, you've heard me make this argument. We talk about basketball all the time, right? How much better are you going to get at quarterback than Lamar Jackson? You're not.
He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league.
Right. So. Like maybe the other 2 quarterbacks you would be able to get, them teams not giving him up. Them teams are not giving Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes up, right? How much better are you going to get at your tight end spots? You have good tight ends. You got a really good, like, Derrick Henry feels like the ageless wonder, but we're starting to see little cracks in the armor, right? How much better, you got a good group of receivers, I feel like. But if you've blown 16 or 17 fourth quarter leads, that starts at the top. This is an issue from the top of the roster all the way to the bottom, right? This is a coaching issue at this point, right? And the worst problem they're going to have defensively, especially, is if Lamar is hurt with his hamstring injury for a significant period of time, they won't be able to lean on that defense to stem the tide, right? To get us through this next 3 or 4, 5 game stretch, 2-2, 3-2, They won't have that because that defense is terrible, right? So I personally think, depending on how these next 2 weeks go, this could be the season. Like, if they lose to Houston and to the Rams, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that Harbaugh gets fired midseason. Like, it would not shock me. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. And that was the one caveat that I was going to say. Like, if Lamar is dealing with this hamstring injury, which hamstrings are very, tricky, and, you can miss some time and you can tweak it at any point. If he hasn't missed some time, then it is a very good chance that they might be done. Because, for all the reasons you just named, they don't have anything else to stand on right now. And, it just won't be enough. I think we'll get to that game in our game picks, but hopefully he's healthy enough. Hopefully he's healthy enough to play, because I do think with that division they still have a chance. But I don't know if they would fire John Harbaugh. Like, the Ravens don't seem to me as an organization that would do that to somebody that's been tenured there that long.
Maybe they would let him finish out the year, but I mean,
yeah, if you start
why not?
1-5 and you don't make the playoffs,
why not? Right? Like, under what circumstances? What's the argument for keeping this person the full year? Right? Like, of course, there is the respect part of this, but hey, man, and it's not college, so you don't need to get ahead of a search so you can, keep your recruiting class intact, right? But lost season, like, this very well could be a lost season for the Ravens. And again, Lamar's getting older, right? Derrick Henry, we're starting to see cracks in the fountain. Like, I felt like we never thought we'd see Derrick Henry start to slow down. But this might be what we're seeing here. And it's like slow and gradual. Like, I'm thinking of like Derrick Henry. Ken, you ever drove an old car and, the engine still run good, but, that window, it'll roll all the way up, right? It take a little bit longer, take a little bit more of a turn of the key to get that car, boom, right? That's, I feel like, what's happening with Derrick Henry, right? He's still good once the motor gets going. He's fine, right? But you're starting to see it's taking a little bit longer for that car to slow down. Those brakes are a little, you might need some new rotors, right? It's not the same, right? So the Ravens are in a really bad spot. So for me, Ken, a team that's disappointed me has been the Houston Texans. And Kennedy Miller, I'm going to tell you this, brother. 2 years ago on this show, I got back with the Houston Texans. I got back in the relationship, Kennedy Miller, right? Because when I was gone, I quit for those of you who do not know, after the Houston Texans signed Deshaun Watson, or the artist formerly known as Deshaun Watson, in 2020, to a long-term extension. The Texans then stunk the next year. They pissed him off, and then Watson wanted out. And then 4 weeks after he decided he wanted out, we find out that man has been accused by 4 dozen women of being a sexual degenerate, allegedly. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. This relationship is not serving me. I'm not being bettered by this situation, right? This is probably why Bomani Jones quit the Falcons. He said he quit the Falcons after Michael Vick got arrested for fighting dogs. He was like, why am I even here anymore? You know what I'm saying? With Deshaun Watson and everything that felt, I'm like, this is never going to get any better. So I left for about, 3 years, Kennedy Miller?
Yeah.
I was gone. I was done. And I told myself I was never coming back. The Texans hired D'Amico Ryans, drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, made that first year they made the playoffs. And I was like, you know what? Like in Diary of a Mad Black Woman, after Charles got shot, ended up paralyzed, had to dump him in the tub, got his mind right? Stop blowing those bubbles. Feed him, clothe him. What about me? Got my hair falling out. Right? So I got back with the Texans. But I'm going to tell you what, Kennedy Miller, what I'm seeing this year has got me wanting to find those divorce papers and put them back on the table. All right? Because this is bad. Right? You have a very good defense. What I would say, a top level defense that you've got. But the fact that your offensive line is cheeks is messing up the whole operation. CJ Stroud, I wouldn't say has regressed, right? But he hasn't gotten any better, right? Which is a problem, which is something that we kind of talk about pretty consistently when we talk about young quarterbacks, right? We always think that it's all, there's nowhere to go but up. That's not inherently true, right? They fired an offensive coordinator. They shuffled the offensive line. Nothing looks better. And now they're starting off the season 1-3 with the season on the line, going to Baltimore, right? I don't know. This is extremely disappointing because, again, and it's even worse because we thought the AFC South is possibly going to be the weakest division in football. And all of a sudden, Daniel Jones out here looking like the second coming. Daniel Jones looking like what people thought he was going to turn into back when we was at them Gateway Apartments, Kennedy Miller. All of a sudden, I hated that nickname so much. You don't get a nickname like that if you're not good. It's not as bad as Paul George anointing himself playoff Pete.
Man.
But how you Danny Dimes and you sorry?
Correct.
But the Texans are not good right now, right? They beat Tennessee, but Tennessee really might be the worst team in football. And I really want people to go look at Tennessee's schedule. Tell me when do you think they're going to win a game? Because I looked, I don't think Tennessee's going to win a game until after Thanksgiving or really has a chance to. They're horrible, right? So if you're Houston, something has to change here. Chicago last year, Caleb Williams got sacked 65, 66 times. They put a whole lot of money into that offensive line in free agency. Houston traded Laramie Tunsil, drafted a tackle in the second round, shifted Titus Howard to guard. They made a couple of moves. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, though. They've invested so much money in the defense. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Stingley, Bullock, Lassiter, Petrie. They need to make that same sort of investment in the offensive line and protect your quarterback because Kennedy Miller, so help me God. Ruin another quarterback if you want to. Houston, I will really leave, and I will really not be back again. Kennedy Miller, I promise. Just as show as my name is Juan Ye, I will be gone, dog. Gone.
They've been a disappointment. But I think the word here that always goes with the Texans, expectations. Expectations, right? You draft CJ, like you said, you drafted CJ Will Anderson 2 years ago. You didn't have many expectations for them, right? DeMeco Ryans' first year as a head coach, they surpassed expectations. Won a playoff game, right? Beat Joe Flacco and the Browns. And then you lose to the Ravens on the road. But you probably should have. And it's okay, if this is year one, what can we be in year two, right? Pretty steady. You're going to win your division because, like we said, the AFC South has generally been, outside of Peyton Manning, for most of our lives, been one of the weaker divisions, right? So you're going to win your division. Did they win a playoff game last year?
They did. They smashed the Chargers. They blew the Chargers' doors off.
Yeah, they beat the Chargers. And then you had a chance with Kansas City. You didn't get blown out that game. It was a pretty good game, right? So again, the expectation. Well, now we get Danielle Hunter, and now we get Nick Chubb, and now we get these guys. So we should be set. And now it's just like you said, we got a new not we. I'm not a Texans fan. They got a new offensive coordinator, right? They reshuffled the offensive line, lost Laramie Tunsil, right? And through 4 weeks, I think it might have changed now that they scored 26 points against the Titans. But through 3 weeks, they had scored the fewest amount of points in the league.
They hadn't scored a touchdown in the red zone until last Sunday.
It's ugly to watch, right? The Rams, they had a chance, right? They get stripped down the stretch of the game, but they didn't score a touchdown that game. The second game, who did they play? The Rams and who was the second team that they played? Oh, Tampa Bay.
It was Tampa.
Baker walked them down at the end. And then Jacksonville was practically giving the game away.
They gave it away.
They gave it away for the Texans to win, and they still couldn't do it. And so, like you said, Tennessee is the worst team in the NFL. You should win that game. But then you got Baltimore, who is in a desperate position, like you are, on the road to win their next game. I'm not sure this will not be a lost season for the Texans as well.
And the worst thing for Houston is this, right? You're going to have a lost season. This is likely the last year before CJ Stroud shows up and
He's
is like, all
gotta
right,
get
so
paid.
extension time.
He's got to get paid.
Right. And I'm like, yo, we always said it is best to try to win when your quarterback or your young core is
While he's young.
inexpensive. Well, like, once that guy is expensive and is eating up a nice chunk of your cap, hey, you're going to have to start cutting corners. You're going to have to start, figuring it out at some other places, right? You're going to have to start drafting better to replace some of the high-end guys you probably have to let go, right? Why should I feel confident Houston's going to be able to go out in the draft and get some offensive line help for CJ? Because in my estimation, all of those picks, their first 3 picks and possibly what they do in free agency, all needs to be on high-end offensive line play. Because CJ's first year, the biggest thing a young quarterback needs is a strong defense, strong running game, right? Strong offensive line, right? They were able to run the ball that first year fairly well, right? Now they offensively, it is offensive to watch them play offense. Like it makes your eyes hurt.
Yes,
like,
it does.
Damn,
it's gross. And they're gonna have to pay. They're gonna have to pay Will Anderson too.
Yeah, he's up. He's the next one up. Can you see how angry I'm getting? Do you see it? Do you see the irritation? I'm like, I'm back in full, and I'm like, see, Ken, the relationship was fun. We were back together. We liked each other again. But Ken, they say the time you really know what a relationship really is the hard times, right? We're gonna see.
Trust me, I know.
Kid said, nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Nobody knows my sorrow.
Kid said, you don't know pain.
Come on, man.
Oh, man. But, Ken, has there been any team that surprised you in a good way this year to start off the season?
The Indianapolis Colts. Man. They really could be in a position today where they're 4-0. And their biggest threat to winning the division title, the Houston Texans, are 1-3. If it wasn't for Adonai Mitchell, which I know we got some ties. We got some ties here because hometown kid, right? Can't make those mistakes. But I think the biggest thing here is Daniel Jones, right? Like Daniel Jones has opened this whole thing up for the Colts. Like it was like now that he's playing and Shane Steichen is doing some wonders with him. Now we remember that, the Colts got Jonathan Taylor. The Colts got a pretty good offensive line. They got Quentin Nelson. The Colts got weapons, right? Like their offense was humming, right? I think it was a stat they either scored on the first 8 or 10 possessions of the season.
Yeah, boy, they blew Miami's doors. I mean, everybody's blowing Miami's doors off except the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they blew Miami's doors off.
Beat a good Denver team.
Yes, they beat Denver, even though Denver kind of shot themselves in the foot with that flag on the field goal. The Colts look like, I don't know if they can keep it up, but again, we just talked about it. That division is not that good. They're already 3-1. They got a chance to probably win 9-10 games.
And to think, Daniel Jones, because I'm pretty sure if you would have gave me truth serum and lined up like 100 former failed first round picks up against the wall and said one of these guys is going to be like 3rd in the NFL in completion percentage, right, and lead one of the better offenses in the league, I'd have said it damn sure ain't gonna be the Colts of Daniel Jones. Because we saw somebody put Daniel Jones on the curb like an old couch in the middle of last year. He went from the starting quarterback from the Giants to getting cut in like 2 weeks, but they paid him $14 million, right? And other people have made this point. We should have known right then and right there. Shane Steichen had signed his quarterback when they did that. $14 million is a lot of money to have somebody like in a visor, in an iPad. That's a lot of money to be doing all that, right? They went and got a guy that they thought could do the job and help this team win. And like Shane Steichen, his third eye must be wide open. Like he must be Jerry West on the scout, right? Because this man legitimately might be able to do magic, right? We saw what he did with Jalen Hurts in 2022 with a full offseason with him. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked that good consistently since.
Yes.
And look, and then you see like Jalen Hurts has had his moments, and it's crazy to think about. Jalen Hurts, as much as we've been complaining about Jalen Hurts as a passer for the better part of 10 years now, right? And that dude has outplayed Patrick Mahomes, who might be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen in 2 Super Bowls, right? And if the Chiefs don't win that first one when they played the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP easily, right? But Steichen did wonders with Hurts. And Hurts hasn't been that consistently good since, right? And then he goes out and gets Daniel Jones off the scrap heap. It looks like what did Corporal Daniel say in The Wire? Shined up shit and turned it into gold, right? Is that not what he's done with Daniel Jones, Kennedy Miller? Is that not what he's done?
Yes.
Which should tell you one thing, brother. Anthony Richardson might be the worst one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen. Right?
He better be thanking Cam Newton every single day.
Josh Allen is the one. Because Josh Allen is the reason I think that dude got drafted as high as he did. People saw him and were like, yo, this looks just like Josh Allen. Just like him. But they were betting, and again, we talked about it a couple years ago on the show. I was like, I wouldn't touch that dude at 10-foot pole. He hasn't played nearly enough football yet. He hadn't played nearly enough football or been nearly as successful as I would like a quarterback to come out. And the crazy part about Richardson is this: with the NIL money being what it was, he could have stayed in school, right, and gotten some money and been all right. Again, I don't know what everybody's money situation is. I don't know. But it's like, that's a guy who should have stayed in school. 1, to play more and get more snaps, but 2, for maturity. But he was in this weird place where, Ken, as a coach, I feel like you've seen this, right? There are certain guys who aren't ready to play, right? But, they need the practice reps, but they're not quite ready to go out there and help us win yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they need the game reps that bad. They need both really badly, right? So you're not good enough to help us win yet, right? But you still need the reps because you're so inexperienced,
Mm-hmm.
right? So with Richardson, it just became a double-edged sword where he needs to play because he needs to make these mistakes in order to improve and get better, but they don't have any time for him to improve and get better. No. And Shane Steichen keep his job, right? Which is why I was like, why this guy shouldn't have been drafted that high in the first place. And if you were going to draft him that high, you should have sat him on the bench for a year, possibly 2, right? Like, why do we think we can just drop a quarterback, like a rookie NFL quarterback, into whatever situation? Like, oh, they'll be fine, especially that one. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this, right? If the Colts are 7-1, 8-1, because I'm looking at their schedule, right? And it's not I would say, a surefire loss for another like 3 or 4 weeks, right? They got the Raiders. They could definitely beat the Raiders. They got the Cardinals. They can beat the Cardinals. So it's at 5-1. The Chargers, right? Now we predict the Chargers to beat them, but we also predicted the Chargers to beat the Giants too.
Yeah, that did happen. That did happen.
Then they have the Colts, Steelers, Falcons, and then Chiefs, right? Do you entertain extending Daniel Jones?
I mean, what other option do you have?
That's you
got to give Daniel Jones a bag, and that's gonna be crazy because you give Daniel Jones a bag, and then Daniel Jones, like, then the clock strike midnight on Daniel Jones. Then you remember, oh yeah, he Daniel Jones. Ken, you remember on Shrek when it's almost the opposite. Remember when the sun went down and Fiona went from this pretty princess to an ogre? right?
Daniel Jones
That's
turned
what's
into
going
who he actually is.
right. Daniel Jones going to turn back into Daniel Jones, and when Donkey went from being that Bronco into a little. When is he going to turn back into Daniel Jones? Because I feel like all of us are watching the Colts and marveling at this, kind of like we did last year with Sam Darnold, right? We're
Yes,
marveling
very
at
similar.
watching Sam Darnold, but then we're all like, bro, I done watched you play NFL football. You're Sam damn Darnold, right? With Daniel Jones, it's like, you're Daniel Jones. At some point, you're going to go back to being the guy who Brian Dable left on the scrappy. Brian Dable said he'd rather deal with sorry Russell Wilson, Jameis, and Jackson Dart than have you. Like, that's the dude you have to give Daniel Jones the money, because at this point, how hard is it to find? Like, it's really hard to find competent NFL quarterback play. So if you think you have competent NFL quarterback play, the going rate for competent NFL quarterback play right now is $50 million.
Yep. Like, and that dude's gonna come to the table and be like, we're 71, 8-1. And how many of these other quarterbacks don't want a playoff game? Daniel Jones has a playoff win on his resume.
He
And
does, but that was Kirk Cousins, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Kirk Cousins. But like he's gonna have more leverage than Sam Darnold had last year.
We got to see how it ends. We got to see how it ends this year.
This is true. It's still very early.
And I think with Darnold last year, what like Darnold knew this was like, Darnold knew that was an entanglement with the Vikings, because they had JJ McCarthy.
They
who
had
was
JJ.
hurt.
They had JJ.
Right.
Yeah.
He knew this is a 1 year. This was fun. I've had fun. We're going to go part ways. It's a fun summer fling. Sam knew that, right? Daniel Jones is their option, because Anthony Richardson's going to have a hat on and holding an iPad next year somewhere.
Yes.
Like, he's done in that town. I hope he's already hope he's called his apartment complex and told him, yeah, I'm not renewing my lease come January. I'm out.
Yeah, he's
over.
Done.
And speaking of Joneses balling and playing well, the San Francisco 49ers and their backup quarterback who got them through the first stretch of the season, Kennedy Miller. Who? Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. Like, once again, Kennedy Miller, I feel like, we remember 4 years ago when that draft was coming up, the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson draft? When they traded up and gave up and made possibly one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. The Niners gave up 3 1s to move up to the second pick. And the thought was, they're going to take Mac Jones. And we all were like, are you crazy? Is Kyle Shanahan smoking rocks, right? Because we thought he loved Mac Jones that much. He ended up taking Trey Lance, and Trey Lance was cheeks too. But he was in that kind of Anthony Richardson boat where
he
wasn't that good. Didn't have, he needed to play, didn't play a lot, got hurt, whatever. He finally got his hands on Mac Jones. He finally got Mac Jones, Kennedy Miller, and he was like, it's like, you ever seen Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins?
Of course.
You remember when Martin Lawrence's character, when Roscoe finally got with Nicole Ari Parker's character, the prom queen, right? That's probably what Kyle Shanahan was probably feeling like. Like, I've been waiting for this dance for 22 years. Kyle Shanahan had been waiting to get his hands on Mac Jones. See what I can do with average quarterbacks. Because, bro, at this point, I'm really thinking about it, man. Kyle Shanahan don't want no superstar. Kyle Shanahan, the type that, I work with average, baby. I'll show you what I can do with average.
Yeah, because it's a better show of like, man, that dude made that dude look good. Like, when we seen what Mac Jones did, and we talked about this before, it's not like Mac Jones has just been like some game manager just been handing the ball off. Like, he went 41 passes one game, 39 passes another. He's basically thrown 80 passes in 2 games. Like, Kyle is like, go ahead, win the game for us, Mac. Like, he's taking him off the reins. I'm amazed.
And the wild part about this isn't the Niners of 3-4 years ago with Debo.
Correct.
Right? Like,
right.
healthy, slim Debo Samuel. Right? They don't have Ayuk out there. Kittle's still there, but Kittle's banged up. Right? This is all in my head. This is all Kyle. Right? This is all Kyle. right? So the fact, like, coming into this year, I thought the Niners would take a huge step back just because they don't have all those guys, and that means Brock Purdy is going to have to make something shake for them. But I'll be doggone, man. Mac Jones held down the fort. Like,
Yes, he
you
did.
just never would, especially as terrible as he looked in New England those last couple years. What I don't know. I think anybody would look terrible if you got Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as your offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. I think anybody would look terrible at that point. Right? Like, I think legitimately part of the reason Bill Belichick don't have that job no more, one, he can't evaluate talent very well at this point, and two, he broke a quarterback he took in the first round. He broke his own quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan is like, I will fix you up. Kyle Shanahan probably was Dirty Mac. Remember how Joe was talking and all the things your man won't do? That's probably how Kyle Shanahan was talking to Mac Jones. Like, don't you worry. Look, that man's trash is my treasure. I'm telling you. He was like, just come over here, Mac. Just come over here, Mac Corkle. And we going to figure this on out right. Another question, Ken. Did you happen to see the S that happened on Saturday night when the Alabama Crimson Tide took Kirby Smart down again? Did you catch that one, dog?
Hey, is Ty Simpson the best SEC quarterback right now?
Healthy? Or just like the best in general? Best healthy quarterback?
I'll say the best
in general. Best healthy, because I think best right now, just in total, I'd probably go with John Mateer, even though I think he's going to miss the next 3 or 4 games with that broken hand thing.
Yes.
And quiet as it's kept, that might keep Brent Venables in this job for another year, because he's like, I would have beat Texas, but Mateer was hurt. We could, I think Mateer's the best quarterback, but Ty Simpson ain't far behind him. And you really think about it, in a league that we thought this year we were going to have DJ Lagway at Florida progress. We thought Arch was going to come in and do well. Garrett Nussmeier, a returning starter, right? The best two quarterbacks in the SEC right now are John Mateer and Ty Simpson, right? And I really have to give Kalen DeBoer so much credit, right? I think he was coaching for his job on Saturday. That was a man who was fighting for his life on Saturday, because he knew if he goes in to the meat of their SEC schedule already 2-2, and they still have to go play South Carolina, play Missouri, play LSU, play Oklahoma, play Tennessee, and then go Iron Bowl this year is at Auburn, and every time that Iron Bowl is at Auburn, it's just a crazy game. That ain't a good situation you want to be in. But Ken, I told somebody before the week, like an hour or two before that game, they asked me who do I think was going to win, Alabama or Georgia, and I told them, I'm like, Alabama's going to win this game. This is a game Kalen DeBoer gets up for. Like, big games, Kalen DeBoer going to be ready to go. Like, so the stat right now is Kalen DeBoer is 8-0 in games against Brian Kelly, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Kirby Smart. He's beaten all of them. All of them. Right? Like, he's going to be ready for them games. And I mean, he was deep in the bag. Right? Like, I don't know if you saw it, Ken. They threw a quick screen to the left tackle. Like, and it wasn't one of those like Penei Sewell, Ben Johnson, we're going to line him up as eligible, like on the line and then sneak it and throw it to him. No. They split him out wide. Right? And then they motioned another receiver over there. So Alabama had 3 official receivers to that side. Georgia only had 2 defenders over there, because you just think there's no possible way they're going to throw it to Caden Proctor, and then they throw it to him. Like, hey, in order to bring that big brother down, you was going to need a tranquilizer gun, because that DB just dived at his leg. Let me just dive, throw myself at him, right? But he was just buffaloed his way 10, 12 yards, right? Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb had it going, right? I think they ran out of spades kind of like they did last year, but they were able to hold the car in the lane, and then Georgia really wasn't able to capitalize, right? Because Georgia's got problems, I think, defensively. Like, this ain't the Georgia defense that had Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, Quay Walker, Jordan Davis, Keely Ringo, Lassiter, all of those boys. They don't seem right now to be able to get a pass rush. And their secondary, I've always thought their secondary was iffy, but that front seven covered that up. Right. So with Georgia's in this weird spot where it's like, all right, the offense is always complementary because the defense has always been the last several years been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need the offense to light up the scoreboard. We just need the offense to put up some points when we give you a short field. Don't have to do too much. But right now, it seems like the only good thing that offense can do right now is run the ball. Right. Gunnar Stockton, like there's a whole bunch. I feel like right now there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks in SEC where I'm like, we got a long way to go, baby. Right. But I don't know how you feel about this, Ken. This is the most wide open the SEC has felt in years.
I
You know
agree.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like you said, like a couple of weeks ago, people were writing off Alabama, writing off Kalen DeBoer, and then they come up with this win. Texas had all these expectations; they haven't quite lived up to it. Georgia, we thought was just going to Georgia, then they dropped to Alabama, right? Florida, we don't really like. It's going to be interesting to see them play Texas this weekend. South Carolina, we need to see more. LSU, we thought was going to be this great offense, and like they've been more so winning on defense, right? So it's just all up in the air, and I'm excited to see how it all turns out, man. Down the stretch, really going into this SEC play now.
And here's the crazy thing, for me at least, things that I feel like I'm not a fan of college football realignment. I feel like it messed up the best parts of college football because to me the best thing about college football is it's like high school football. It's best when it's local. You know what I'm saying? Like when you play like in district play or in conference play or whatever, them teams that are near you geographically, those are the teams that
That
matter.
matters.
Right? Like the idea that like USC is playing Maryland, that's a conference game is ridiculous to me. I'm like, who cares? Right? Even USC and Michigan, two like helmet programs, but it's like, all right, we would normally had that game in like either like the Rose Bowl, right? But what I think it's done for the SEC is that it's made them eliminate divisions, right? And so for the longest, it felt like in the SEC West, you knew it was going to be Alabama coming out of the SEC West, right? Maybe Auburn has a great 11-win year and they make it happen. LSU kind of sneaks in there here and there, right? But for the majority of the Saban era, we were like, Alabama's coming out of the West. They're going to go to Atlanta and play in the SEC title game. And for these last like five or 6 years, our expectation has been that out of the SEC East, it was going to be Georgia. Right? Like that had been our expectation for the last several years. Right? But even before it was Georgia, it was like Alabama's going to play someone and they're probably going to blow their doors off. Right? If it's not Georgia. Or, you'll have a year here, a year there where Florida's going to have a really good team. Right? But by and large, they're gonna walk over somebody. What this is set up now is this is going to be crazy down the stretch, right? I think there are 4 or 5 teams that can make an argument that they can win the SEC right now, and there's another 2 or 3 I think they're going to make it interesting in November, right? That's the fun part of this in watching them slug this out, right? Like that Alabama Tennessee game is always it's a big game because it's a rivalry, but it's really going to have much more implications now, right? That Texas A&M game is going to mean something because it's Texas and Texas A&M.
Yes,
but this is going to have this could determine, like it did last year, if Texas goes to the SEC title game, right? Like this is going to have real deal implications. And I think this is the part that makes the sport better. We always talk about like the lack of parity, right? But I still think your best teams with the most talent are still going to be the teams that end up near the top of the league and in the playoff and in the national championship game. Like you're not going to have Memphis going to go make a run, right? Memphis might make the playoff, or this year, Kennedy Miller, both of our alma maters, the Mean Green,
undefeated,
UNT, 5-0. Shout out to the Mean Green. Shout out to them boys, right? Like I know they don't call it Apogee no more, but his mama named him Apogee. I'm gonna call it Apogee Stadium.
I'm still call it.
Right. Like, they might make a run, but like there's never a thought they're gonna win a national championship, right?
Right.
But at least
I think the closest is gonna be is like Arizona State, like last year. Sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
Right. Yeah, Arizona State are like Boise, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got a guy, you get high, you make a run, you got a guy like Genty or Scatterboo, and you gonna make it happen. Right? but at least we get to see these boys, all these teams round robin it and slug it out to see what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Definitely looking forward to see how this all pans out in the SEC because it's just up in the air, like we said. It's up in the air, and you got a couple teams that can really make some noise. That Texas A&M game is going to be big. I wish that John Mateer was playing, so like there would be no excuse for the Texas OU game. But like all of those will have serious implications in how the playoff will be because it's going to matter who wins the SEC championship, who makes it to the championship, and then who ends up winning.
And even more so, who makes the playoffs now, right?
Correct.
Because I
Right.
feel like one thing the playoff has done, I don't like the playoff being 12 teams, right? Because,
Mhm.
anytime you make went from 4 teams, then people are always like, well, it's too small. Why isn't it 6? Or why isn't it 8? Or why isn't it 10? Right? It's going to go from 12 teams, I think next year to like 16, right?
Mhm.
But then the team that's number 17 someone's always going to be
Yeah,
left
it's
out and going
always
to be,
going to
well, what
come
about
out left.
me?
Yeah.
Right. There's always going to be somebody doing the Carl Thomas, but what about me? Right. There's always going to be somebody like that. You know what I mean? So, but for me, what that does is it means one loss isn't devastating anymore. Right. Like 3 or 4 years ago, if we remember 6 years ago when Alabama played LSU in November, and it was the game where they had there was like 25 NFL players on the field, like from Patrick Queen to Devontae Smith, Judy, Waddle, Ruggs, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, there were dudes. There were dudes everywhere. Like if we go back and look at that game, like we were probably gonna be like, yo, that's one of the most star-studded college football games of all time. Like that game was nuts if you really think about like the level of talent there were on both sidelines, right? Alabama
Mhm.
loses that game by 4. They were like that didn't completely knock them out of the playoff race, but there was a strong, like we knew like 95% certainty they probably weren't going to make the playoff,
Mhm.
right? Now, one loss doesn't do that to you anymore, right? One loss just means, hey, you lost one game. And because the conferences are so stacked now, where really the SEC, the Big Ten has like, I would say 3 or 4 really good teams right now. Right, like, I don't think Indiana and Illinois can compete for a national championship. I don't, right? I think Penn State has the players to compete, but James Franklin will have to win a game against a really good team for me to
Yeah,
see that.
because Boise State and who he beat SMU in the playoff
He
last
beat
year.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what he beat.
Not good enough. It's not good enough. You got to win one of these head to heads.
Like, and I ain't gonna lie, the next another guy that I think is gonna be there very soon is Steve Sarkisian, right? Like, Sarkisian has gotten Texas past the point where like Texas is going to beat Clemson or beat some of these other lesser programs, right? But when you go up against Ohio State, you go up against,
Georgia.
Georgia, you're just not quite there yet, right? At some point, you have to clear the hurdle. And I do think it's not a given that you ever will. We're talking about, look at James Franklin, right? So it all depends what you're looking for, what you want there. But I am excited to see how this thing plays out because this could result in some people getting fired. The American Dream, Brian Kelly, might be on his way out of Baton Rouge. If this keeps going this way,
Yep.
like, bro, really think about it. All these years where in the mid 2010s where LSU was excellent defensively and had really great talent on offense, but couldn't throw the ball, right? Like they had Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and couldn't throw the ball well, right? And now once they got Burrow, it flipped up, right?
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden the offense is excellent and phenomenal, but the defense is horrific, right? Like that year they had Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas and went 8-5. Like if that defense was just mediocre, they win a national championship. Like we remember that team. And now we're thinking, all right, they finally got this defense figured out. And now the offense has replaced 4 offensive linemen, right? Now the offense can't function well. They can't run the ball, right? And once they can't run the ball, it's all on Nussmeier and the receivers, and people are just playing coverage on them. They're having trouble. And Brian Kelly is not the kind of guy where you want to give him some grace and give him more of an opportunity. Because when things are going wrong, you got to deal with Brian Kelly. Like, you got to deal with a jackass in the meantime. Like that, he ain't the type of guy that makes you want to be like, yeah, man, we'll give you a little bit more time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Obviously, you take the money going to LSU, right? You take the challenge. He kind of, before Marcus Freeman did it, he kind of had it great at Notre Dame. Like, it was always like this assumption, like he's going to have a good team, right? He might make a run at some point, but it's always kind of a limitation of what Notre Dame can do, right? At LSU, there is no excuse. The expectation is you are to compete for SEC championships, you are to compete for national championships. And he has not done that ever since he came down with that fake Southern accent.
I'm like, yo, where is he going? Sounding like this is NWA. Or
Right.
like, why does he sound like why is he? I'm like, because like when he had that suit on too. I'm like, yo, why he look like Bruce Pritchard?
It was awful.
Like, but again, I really want, again, they need to make this happen. And what's even wilder, the SEC, this might be my favorite game of the year. I'm gonna watch this one in November because it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be the Jackass Bowl, right? When it's Arkansas and LSU. Because Bobby Petrino is back in the head job at Arkansas. Call human resources. Make sure they're fully staffed, right? Like, you know who he should hire on his staff? Like, if Bobby Petrino, you know who he should hire in the interim? Mel Tucker. Let's just do the whole thing, right? Do the whole thing. Get some more people hired, right? Like, lower the unemployment rate in Arkansas, right? Like, because Bobby Petrino is back in charge. Just keep him away from motorcycles and keep him from harassing the young women. Okay, that's all we need to do. Just keep Bobby in the football building. That's it. That's all.
Like,
Am I wrong?
with motorcycles?
Keep him away from the motorcycles. Because you remember when he came to that press conference with that doggone neck brace on, lying through his teeth?
Yes. How could I forget?
Like, welcome to 2025 when Bobby Petrino is back as the head coach at Arkansas. Time is really a flat circle. All right, Ken, you ready to pick some games?
Let's pick some games.
All right, man. So let's start off with, and this is the first time this has been a game between two ranked opponents, between these two teams as ranked opponents since 1937. Number 16, the undefeated Vanderbilt Commodores against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Kennedy Miller, who you got?
I'm going to go Bama. I think they're about to hit the stride now. Vandy upset them last year. Diego Pavia, New Mexico military alum. But that's a big win that they had against Georgia. Like you said, he was fighting for his job. And now I think they're about to start really showing some of the SEC how talented they really are.
Can you imagine what would happen if Alabama beat Georgia
If they
2 years
lost
in a row and then the next week they
Yeah.
lost to Vanderbilt? Kennedy
Yeah.
Miller, if they lose to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row and this time at home, legend and the sidewalk alumni are going to be in the president's office that Monday morning. Oh my God. Kennedy Miller, this would be biblical. Biblical. They really might burn that man's house down. All right. They're going to be furious. I tell you, furious. Right. But Vanderbilt at this point is not to be taken lightly. Kalen DeBoer gets up for these big games. He better treat Vanderbilt like a big game. I personally think Alabama's going to be emotionally drained and a little bit tired. A lot of times after you play a big game one week, you spend a lot of emotional energy. It takes a little bit more for you to rev it up the next week. Right? So I think Alabama's going to come slowly out of the gates, but then eventually figure it out. I'm going to go Bama 34-21. And again, Kalen DeBoer, I hope you have insurance on that house, brother. Because if you lose, they're going to have to move. They're going to have to send him up north. All right, next game, Kennedy Miller. The Texas Longhorns are traveling to the swamp to play the Florida Gators. Who you got?
Texas. I don't trust Florida. I mean, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. Like, turn the ball over too much. What's my man's name? I don't know why I can't think of the coach's name. We always talk about him.
Billy Napier.
Billy Napier, basically on his way out. I got Texas winning this game. Hopefully Arch can turn it around, play a little bit better, but I think Texas is going to win.
Going Texas, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think. Billy Napier is going to be coaching for his job, and he is at home. Last year, Texas blew their doors off. Florida was missing a number of key guys. I think Florida's very good this year defensively, right? But that offense looks like a high school offense. It is terrible, absolutely terrible, right? But I think Napier coming, I believe, out of a bye week is going to have some tricks up his sleeve because, again, he's trying to save his job, right? Hopefully Arch can put together 2 consecutive good weeks. Like if Arch plays really well against a good SEC caliber defense and starts to build some confidence, maybe we're up to something. Maybe, because again, I'll say this again. Texas has, I think, what I think is the best defense in the country, right? That defense gives Texas a lot of runway where that offense just needs to be competent, right? So if Arch can, make the plays, do what they need to do, I think, it really give me confidence going into Red River, even though Texas is going to play a backup quarterback in Red River. That game is going to come down to can Arch make plays against Brenton Venables in the defense that he schemes up. Arch, at least for my confidence, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people's, it would be imperative for Arch Manning to play well. But I'm going to go Texas. I'm going to go Texas 31, Florida 14. I'm probably giving Florida too much credit saying they're going to score 14 points. But I'm going to give Florida 14. I think they run some trickery and get something going. Next one, Kennedy Miller to the NFL. Texans and Ravens. Who you got?
Baltimore at home. Both teams desperate. Both teams don't want to start 1-4. Both teams were playoff teams last year. I think Baltimore is, even with injuries, still a better team. Houston struggles to score. They may have some more success against that Baltimore defense. And the Texas defense is not to be taken lightly. Like lately, the Chiefs did a really good job of keeping Lamar away from having big plays, especially with his legs. But I think Baltimore would just be a little bit too much for Houston at home. So I got Baltimore winning probably like a 27-17 game.
I'm going Houston. Houston is on the road. Houston is desperate. And Houston more than likely will be playing against a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush.
If Lamar's not playing, then definitely Houston.
I'm thinking with a hamstring injury, I would doubt if Lamar Jackson's going to play. So I'm expecting no Lamar Jackson, especially coming off of a hamstring pull. I expect to see Cooper Rush, right? And given, again, Houston has problems on the offensive line, real deal structural issues on the offensive line. But it's crazy to think of the Ravens as possibly a get-right game on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ravens might be a get-right game defensively for Houston's beleaguered offensive line, right? Because, again, Houston still has weapons on the outside. Christian Kirk, Nico Collins. I like their running backs. If they can get a push and keep CJ upright, I think they've got a chance. I think Houston wins this game. It's going to be ugly. I mean, it is going to hurt your eyes to watch. I think Houston wins this game 20-13. But it is not going to be a fun watch. It will not be a fun watch. I tell you who will be a fun watch, Kennedy Miller. The Dallas Cowboys. Kennedy Miller, the Dallas Cowboys right now, they like a box of chocolates or the Jerry Springer show. You never know what you're going to get week in, week out, right? One week they got Russell Wilson throwing moon balls to Malik Neighbors, right? The next week they're in a 40-40 tie against the Packers. Like they put up 40 against the best scoring defense in the league, right? Like this is Dak Prescott has his limitations. Dak Prescott has his problems. This is the best I've seen Dak Prescott play. At least like the best 4-game stretch to start a season I think he's ever had. He looks excellent right now, right? Even with there being some issues on the offensive line. They're going to waste a great season of Dak Prescott behind that horrific defense because that defense is as bad as the Ravens defense, possibly worse. So do you think they're going to be able to beat the Jets? Do you think they're gonna have Justin Fields? You think they're gonna make Justin Fields look like Lamar Jackson on Sunday?
He will have plays where he looks like Lamar Jackson on Sunday. Like, we'll get gashed, but we will. I do think we'll beat them. I don't think it's like a box of chocolates. I do think you know what you're going to get. Like, you're going to get the offense putting up points, and you're going to get the defense giving up huge plays. Like, and we talked about it before, especially after the Mike Parton thing. They get George Pickens every year that Dak has been healthy. Like, he's going to win you like 7 or 8 games. He's going to win you around 7 or 8 games at least. And he's probably going to have a top 10 offense, right? With CeeDee Lamb just being there alone, it was some limitations, but now you get George Pickens, right? Javonte Williams is playing pretty well. He had a bad fumble. But like, I think I said it after the Michael Parton, like, Dak might throw for 5,000 yards. Like, it really will be like Joe Burrow last year. Like, putting up a bunch of numbers, defense terrible, probably gonna miss the playoffs, right? That's what it's looking like. Like you said, they played the Packers, who after week 1, most people thought that was the best team in the league, right? Especially like defensively, all the speed that they have. Our starting center's out, our starting right guard is out, right? CeeDee Lamb was out, and this dude, and he has been for pretty much most the first 4 games. He's been putting on a clinic. Like, he's thrown 3 picks. One of them against the Giants was an incomplete pass, right? And then one of them against the Bears was right off of George Pickens' hands. But he, like, I agree with you. He's been given it, like, every year that he's been healthy, we've had like a top 10, top 5 offense, but this has been like very impressive. And you honestly got to give Schottenheimer and the offensive coordinator, Clayton, I can't think of whatever his last name is. You got to give them guys some credit. Like, they look like offensively, they look buttoned up. Like, they look put together on offense. Matt Eberflus and the defense look horrendous.
Hey, dog, I would tell you this. Matt Eberflus, I don't know if it's as bad as the first year when it was Mike McCarthy and Mike Nolan. I don't know if it's that bad, but I'm gonna tell you this with Matt Eberflus. Apparently, I was listening to the Dominique Foxworth show, and Dominique was talking about Eberflus's big thing is his defense works really well when you only have to rush 4.
Yeah, they're
big
like
problem
one
that
of
the
the few
Cowboys
teams
have
listening.
is they cannot get a pass rush at all. They had Russell Wilson back there making a ham sandwich, asking Sierra what's for dinner later, and then go throw a moon ball to Malik Neighbors. Right? They had me thinking Russell Wilson for a hot second had turned the clock back. Right? And then you just realize, oh no, that's just the Dallas Cowboys defense. Dallas Cowboys defense, they damn near doing their best Oprah Winfrey impression, Kennedy Miller. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown.
Man,
You get a touchdown too.
it's just so many big
You just
plays.
and all you see is them boys hot in pursuit. I know everybody who plays defensive back for the Cowboys because all I ever see is the back of their nameplate running and chasing. I said, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson. There's some brother whose last name I cannot pronounce, but it starts with an O, right? I remember him specifically, right? But they're all chasing Bland. I know them all, right? Because I see the back of their nameplate chasing someone, hot in pursuit. They chasing after somebody like a cop after somebody that stole something out of a store, right? Chasing but not going very fast. Oh man, go ahead.
They got a favorable. Well, so they're 1-2-1 right now. They play the Jets, right? Then they got Carolina, right? Then I think they have the Commanders going into a bye, right? So some of those guys come back into a bye. Now, like, obviously, they're not a perennial contender. They're not a lock for the playoffs. But they are a team that if they were to sneak in, I don't think anybody will want to play them because, like you talked about with one of those other teams, like, they're bad on defense, but if that offense gets going and they can just, like, get a takeaway or two, then you never know what the game is going to turn into, right? Like, I think maybe they'll win, like, 9 or 10 games. But if that offense is averaging, like, 27, 28 points and they can get a strip sack like they did in the Green Bay game. It looked over in the first quarter.
It did. It looked over. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a blowout.
They blocked an extra point. They scored, and then they get a strip sack. Well, then you look up at halftime, they got the lead. And so, like, they're one of those teams like, they're not very good, but they got potential to be explosive. And I might not want to see them.
Like, this is going to, like, I think you can describe, this is going to be fun, right? It's going to be fun. And I'm like, yo, thank God I don't root for these guys. Because this would drive me up a wall week in, week out, watching them score a bunch of points. Like, I don't know how. You probably needed a drink or my blood pressure medication.
I was standing up.
Giants game.
I was standing up.
I would have had a stroke. Okay, a stroke. Watching Malik Neighbors just, but then Russell Wilson turned back into Russell Wilson, and so that was that. But like I said, it'll be fun for me to watch. Just like watching schematically what the Cowboys are able to pull up, and fun to watch other people score a whole bunch of points against them too, because it's a comedy of errors back there on defense. They're horrific. They're so bad. So good luck, Kennedy Miller. I hope you're not on your alcohol fast during this season.
No, it's over.
You made sure it was over for football season, huh?
It's over. Yeah.
And speaking of over, that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. You didn't see that coming, did you, Kennedy Miller?
You got me. I did not see that coming.
Where can the folks find you on Twitter, my guy?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. You guys can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Texans, S as in San Diego, M as in Michigan. Follow the Game Plan Podcast on Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Again, on Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, follow us, subscribe to us on our official Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel. Y'all get us to 100 subscribers. We got some giveaways for y'all. Help us, help you. All right? But until then, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. For Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Take it easy.